This is our workers' compensation audit report. This spreadsheet is very similar to our budget with details spreadsheet. It is not about, if someone has an accident and you have workers' comp, it's not that kind of a spreadsheet. It's just a spreadsheet to do a little audit report on your workers' compensation. And the salary codes that will come into this spreadsheet will be those that have object codes of 100 to 199, and then the expense codes of 5,000 to 9999. So that's what's going to be on this spreadsheet. So of course we have our settings tab like we have on every spreadsheet. Then we'll have a workers' comp details tab, which you can use if you would like to, but you'll spend most of your time not on this tab, this workers' comp details tab, but you'll spend most of your time on this tab here, the year-to-date workers' comp tab. This is a pivot table, and it's driven off of the data that's on the workers' comp details tab. So we'll be back to this in a moment, and this is where once you refresh your data, you'll come back. It will land you here on this tab. Okay, we have an advanced filtering tab you can use if you'd like. We have a helpful information tab if you need to look something up, and then there's an object description tab that brings in, holds your object descriptions for you, and they're used over here on the other two tabs. So I'm going to go back to the settings tab. And as you can see, there's a couple options you have here. First, we have the option for the fiscal year end date. So if we have a 9, we know that's from July the 1st of 2018 to June the 30th of 2019. So you have the option to select your year. Workers' comp is always workers' comp. It doesn't change. There's no other options. You can click and there's no options, as you can see. And then here we have include accounts with all zeros, yes or no. If you say no, then that means if you have an account that has not had activity, it will not come in. But if you want to see all your accounts, whether they've had activity or whether they have not had activity, then you would change that to a yes. Then we have list of funds, and that is the only option here. So what you would do is come to this section down here that says list of funds, and you would put in the funds that you want to refresh this spreadsheet for. So in this example, we have brought in for fund 2, 3, 5, and 8. Okay, so you would make your selections here on your settings tab, and once that's done, just come up and click on your refresh data button, and then of course it will ask you for your credentials or whatever you need to do to sign in. You'll enter those, and then it will refresh, and when it does, you will be here on this year-to-date workers' comp tab. Okay, so this is a pivot table that we've created for you, and how this works is on any pivot table, the data has to come from somewhere. So in this particular spreadsheet, the data for this pivot table is over on your workers' comp details tab, and that's I'm going to show you two different ways to get there. Of course, you can just click down here on the tab that says workers' comp details, and that brings you to this tab, or I'm going to click back over to the year-to-date workers' comp tab. You can also click this button up here that says view account details. If you click that, it will also take you back over to that tab. And then we have a button here, workers' comp report, that takes you right back over to the pivot table. Okay, so it's going to land you here. This is the original pivot table view that we have given you, and it's broken down by fund, and then object, and then the object description, the account code, and then the account description, and then your year-to-date expenses. Of course, you can manipulate this data any way you'd like. You can say, well, this is great, but I do not need to see my object description, so you can just click on the title line and drag it up, and it will move it up here to the top part, and see how it just moves everything over for you. Okay, so I'm going to click my undo button, put that back like it was, and I'm going to show you how you could bring in data for, say, 1 quarter's worth of data. Okay, so I'm going to be in my pivot table, and when I say that, I'm going to be somewhere where from the title lines down to where the data is. I'm going to right click. When I do, I'm going to click on show field list. Okay, we'll click there. When I do, this box will open up, and everything that's listed in this box, okay, you've got fund, purpose, program, object, location, and you can see what we have here. All these titles, all these things that are available to you are the same exact things that are over here. I'm going to go over here to your view account details. That's the data that's here on this tab here. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how on the pivot table to bring in 3 months worth of data. So I'm going to say, let's say the auditors wanted this report for July, August, and September for first quarter. So we could come here to July and we could just drag it down here into this values section and let go, okay? And then we're going to go up here and we're going to get August. We're going to click it and just drag down. And we're going to do the same thing for September, okay? Now, I don't need the year-to-date expenses because I just want for the quarter. So I can either come down here and drag it up. I can simply uncheck here, or I can click on the title and drag it up. Okay, so I'm just going to click on the title and I'm going to drag it up, and you can see the little red X. I'm going to drop it, and this is unchecked and it's gone from down here. Okay, so now you can see that we have for the first quarter July, August, and September month-to-date totals. So say we really only wanted to see them for program code 002. So we could just filter 002. I'm going to hit enter. And it would be that simple to give you those totals. Now, if you notice, that's not formatted very pretty. So I'm just going to come up here and I'm going to highlight the columns that I want to change the formatting on. And I'm going to right-click, Format Cells. And then I'm going to say, okay, I want them to be numbers. No, I'm going to say currency. Well, Excel, sometimes the currency doesn't put the dollar sign. So I'm just going to do the number amount for now. And let's do it this way. Say okay. Now, if we go right back into that, and you do currency, see how Excel, it'll put the dollar signs there for you? It's a quirky little Excel thing. But I'm going to say okay. So now, I'm just going to double click real quick and it'll spread it out. So now you can see how those totals are listed for you, and it's very concise, very easy to read for you. So I'm going to show you how you could do that over on the other tab, but not near as cleanly. So I'm going to come over here to the view account details, and let's say we wanted to see July, August, and September. A couple things we could do. We could say use this button. It could get rid of all of them, and we could say, well, show me July, but it'll only show me 1 month at a time. So I could go to the bottom and I could get this total, but I got a filter over here for, I think it was program code 002. So there's my, for July, I have 37,260. So if I come back over here and look, it's 37,260. So that's right. And I'm going to go back over to my details. And I could pull up for August, but it's only going to put it, 1 month's worth. Or I could say show them all to me, and I could see them, across this way. So I could see it that way. Or I can just simply use my pivot table here, and it's already broken out for me. And then we also have, it's a little bit easier to read here. So now I'm going to show you how to remove these amounts. You can come down here and you can drag them up, or you can just simply uncheck them and they will go away. If you click the original pivot table view, then it will put this pivot table back to the same look that it had when we first came into here. Okay. Another thing I want you to know, you can drag these columns around. Like say you wanted to see fund and purpose. Let's drag purpose down. See how nice that is? And maybe we want to see the object descriptions, but we don't want to see the account code. So we can just drag that up. And there you have your fund, your purpose, your object description. Okay. Now, in this case, it's showing a total after your object description changes, but we don't want that. Let's say, so we just click in the title. Okay. And then we go to field settings. We say we do not want a subtotal. We say, okay. So see now how the subtotal's gone, and you just have a subtotal after the object code changes. Now, I think that's a little hard to read, so I like to put a blank line between where the objects change. So I'm going to do a right click, and I'm going to do field settings. I'm going to do layout and print and put insert a blank line after each item label. Okay. and see how it splits that out, and it's so much easier to read. So now we have it by fund and purpose and object. So we have a total by object, we have it by purpose, and then we have it by fund. So if you scrolled on down, you would see the fund total. So what we want you to do is just open up your sheet, refresh it, get your data, play around. Don't be afraid to drop and drag so you can see what you do. Worst case, you do something, just click the undo button at the top and it'll put back. See how it removed my blank line? I'm going to undo again. It puts my totals back by object description. And as long as, you know, sometimes Excel will make the undo button not be activated, but you know, you can use it back as far as you can. So there we're back to our original pivot table view. So don't be afraid to use this. Just jump in and see what you have available to you. It might be a very quick way to look up data because less data is already coming in for you. But we just wanted to show you how to use your year-to-date workers' compensation audit report. Thank you for watching.